According to Dr. Carey Doberstein, homelessness in Canada has a lot to do with government policy. I asked him what his research tells us about that.
I compared the 3 Canadian cities with the largest homeless population. So that's Vancouver, Toronto, and Calgary. What I did is I traced over a period of 20 years their governance patterns, specifically looking at were they inclusive to civil society actors in their policy making. And what I found was that those instances in which cities were most inclusive of diverse sources of information, policy advice among civil society actors was most closely associated with innovative policies and comprehensive solutions. I can give you an example of how this works. So the Homelessness Governance Network in Vancouver pioneered a whole new approach to homeless shelters about 15 years ago. They shifted from a context in which, in order to get into shelters, there were an extraordinary number of rules, behavioral rules you had to adhere to. So you had to be sober, you had to be drug-free, you had to be signed up for BC benefits, and a whole long list of other rules in order to gain entry. They shifted from that to something called low-barrier shelters, meaning all those rules are basically relaxed. And it's consistent with what's called a harm reduction approach and philosophy to homeless interventions. This was really controversial at the time among local elected officials and bureaucrats in the public service, in part because it was challenging a dominant paradigm about people need to change their behavior and show us they're committed to sort of improving their life. Very paternalistic attitude towards this population. But what the Homelessness Governance Network and the civil society actors involved in it, they knew all along these rules were doing much more harm than they were good. It was actually trapping people in homelessness because the very people who needed services were not getting them. Right? So what they did is piloted a project for low barrier shelters in Vancouver, and it was an incredible success, which then allowed the government to then sort of give the political cover to then expand this throughout British Columbia, and has since been replicated all throughout the country. I have other examples like this where civil society actors really challenged the dominant thinking and overturned it in ways that would not have otherwise occurred.